I have a meeting this week with a group in my department, and we're having some emotional banter going on, and there's some problems with the group, and I'm just trying to figure out how to be there as their leader, as the manager, as they have this discussion, which will probably end up being like almost like a group counseling session, how to calm everybody's nerves and get them to work better together.
Oh, that's not possible. Next. Well, you can't calm anyone else's nerves, only your own.
Right.
And you can't get anybody else to work well together because that's kind of between them and them.
Right.
So what makes you unsteady and what makes you unnerved is that you're wanting to do something that is not possible. Okay. You can't create in their reality. You can't think for them. You can't stop the momentum that they've got going all of a sudden in one meeting. If they're past the rumble strip and off in the grass and doing wheelies out there in the mud, and a lot of them are out of control, and some of them are doing it on purpose. Some of them are literally running into the others on purpose.
They are.
And you can't reason with them. You can't make them understand. You can't sort it all out. So when you're going into this meeting with them, your only stability is to go in there blessing the contrast, the perfection of the contrast that they are providing. Because if you look at the tapestry of their unique differences, you see what happens anytime a group is gathering, and it doesn't matter what the subject of the group is. If there is the belief that we must become of one mind, that we must form a consensus and we must agree with each other, what you're asking is for all of them to stop believing what they believe all of a sudden. And you're also asking them to do something that not one of them is willing to do. Invalidate your life to this point and the beliefs that you've come to by accepting that you're wrong and something else is right. None of them are going to want to do that.
They're not.
But if you can go in knowing the perfection of the life that each one of them have lived, and yourself personally honoring the wisdom that they have individually come to, and see this group of people that have come together, this clump of thinkers that have come together, much as this vortex that we are describing as the collective consciousness of all of this physical time-space reality that you are all about, and realize that when we say things are always working out for me, we mean for all the me's, for us's, for all of us's. Things are always working out for all of us. And so rather than needing to invalidate or even measure the rightness or the wrongness or the goodness or the bad, instead you can accept the palette of knowledge that this gathering represents, and you can feel glad that every one of them is there with every one of their experiences and every one of their perspectives, because they've created this palette, let's say, this tapestry of knowledge that if any one of you can get into the receptive mode, you can pluck from this mass of knowledge the pieces that are most well-fitting right now. And your inner being will guide you to the finding of it, you see. You have to stay out of the comparison of one of them against another and think only of one thing, and that is you in relationship to your broader knowing, who knows what this tapestry is and which pieces of it fit for you in this unfolding right now. So you can feel it happening within you already. There is an honoring by you, of the perfection of them, a personal appreciation of all that they bring to the table, not just some of what they bring to the table, all that they bring to the table. And when you feel that way, when you look around this room, doesn't matter how many of them there are, with this genuine, aligned with source appreciation of who they are and what they bring, any resistance or rebellion within them will be diffused, and a cooperative component will begin to take place. There is a leverage in alignment that just doesn't exist outside of alignment. So I want to describe to you something, and you will feel it easily as we describe it. So we've talked to you about the existence of this vibrational reality. And we're talking about how law of attraction has managed it, and the momentum of it is increased to the point that it is significant. And you, in a non-resistant mode, doesn't matter how you got there, receive an impulse or a feeling or a desire from it. Oh, it feels so good. It's intoxicating. That fresh breath of air, of this desire of something that has been in the works for you, and now you've gotten hold of it. So when that idea occurred to you, the feeling that we want you to recall is what that feeling is when that fresh idea happens to you, when you receive that fresh idea. Because that receptive mode is everything that you're striving for all the time. And now we want to remind you that just like with your radio stations in your car, you can set your tuner to many different subjects, to many different frequencies, and you can hear many different things. So there is the receptive mode that is your inner being's awareness of all that you've come to and all that you desire, and the perfect path through your path of resistance that you put upon the trail to get there. And then there's a receptive mode of despair or discouragement. There's a receptive mode of overwhelmment. There's a receptive mode of anger or frustration or blame or guilt or despair. In other words, you're setting your tuner for which reception. But when we talk about the receptive mode, what we mean is receiving that broader perspective of your inner being and of all of their inner beings too. So if you could hear us when we say, it's already all been worked out in the vortex. It's already been all worked out because they've all been asking, and Source has worked it all out, but they've not yet received it, but you can. And they might too, but you can. And so most of what goes on in business meetings, politics, anything where any of you have anything to do with any of the others of you, what usually goes on is it's this kind of receptive mode. You're not tuned in, tapped into who you really are, but you are in a receptive mode, and you're just squabbling about insignificant things and arguing about the right way or the wrong way to do things, and you have no power because you're not in this receptive mode, and you resent each other because you're not feeling the way you want to feel, and in most cases you're blaming the others for being down here when it doesn't matter. You kind of all deserve each other. That's sort of where you've been hanging around, but you don't need to. So the key is you got to get out ahead of it, because if you show up there and that's what's going on, you won't get out ahead of it. You'll become part of it. That's what keeps happening. And then you all just leave in frustration, and there are some culprits that seem bigger than others, but the truth of it is, it's a vibrational atmosphere that won't produce much else, because you've all pinched yourself off from your true resources, and so nobody's going to be brilliant, and nobody's going to be really clear-minded, and nobody's going to find the solution. You're all just sort of going to be unhappy that you haven't yet, where any one of you, and we know it will be you, can get out ahead of that. And by that we mean anticipate what it is you're really looking for, and accept that it's in the tapestry and that it can be discovered, and that when it is discovered, everyone who witnesses the discovery is going to feel exhilaration about it. By getting out ahead of it, if we were standing in your physical shoes, these are the steps that we would take personally, and this is very specific to you and this situation. We would first acknowledge the existence of the vortex, and that the desires of each of them is a very high-flying, high-minded intention. No matter how it looks, their intentions, they all want to feel better in the having of it. Not one exception to that. Not one. Everyone wants to feel better. Everyone wants alignment. Next, we would acknowledge everyone has the potential of finding alignment. Maybe not in this meeting, but it could be. Everyone has the potential of finding it. And next, it's not your job to help any one of them find it. It's not your job. It's only your job to find it. Because if one in this mix, now think about it. Think about the vortex. Think about what leadership is. Because everyone is asking, and Source is answering everyone. So why isn't everyone getting the answer? because few are in alignment, because most are focused upon the things that are going on, so they're not in alignment. So most everybody's running around not in alignment, not in the receptive mode of the very answers and things that they're asking for. It only takes one to be in the receptive mode. And the thing that's most interesting about it is to be in the receptive mode, you got to ignore where everybody else is. Just see yourself as the one who gets in the receptive mode, and understand that the way you get into the receptive mode is by appreciating the stupidity of the others. Now, we mean that in the most loving way. It's all right for them to not know, and some of their passion is really intense. What they are contributing to this whole really, 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 really matters. It's to your advantage, not to your disadvantage, you see. So as you find a way to get into vibrational alignment with who you are, then all that they've contributed to it will begin to occur to you. Don't worry about what you say. Don't worry about what you do. Let this be, and this is the hardest part for any of you in a situation like this, let this be your first deliberate vibrational meeting where you've decided to get out ahead of it vibrationally. So they don't know it, but you are going to bring them into your fold before the meeting even happens. Because you're going to take your notebook and write the names of every person, each page, write the name at the top of another person, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another. And then, before the meeting, sit with your pen and write on the pages the things you appreciate about each one of them. In some cases, it's your dogged intensity. In some cases, it's your stubborn nature. In some cases, it's your certainty that you are right. In some cases, it's the bigness and the badness of the life that you lived that got you to this strong place of desire. You'll dig deep for it in some cases, but bring yourself to utter appreciation for at least 50% of the people that you know will be there. And we think you can do it with 60 or 70. There are some that are too hard. Don't try with them. So what happens is, because you got out ahead of it, you got out ahead of it because you connected with Source and how Source sees them. You connected with the power and the brilliance and the goodness of them. You connected with them. You activated it within yourself. You practiced it enough that it's alive within you. And when you walk into that room, they cannot be who they were going to be. They have to be, because one who's connected to this stream is more powerful than millions who are not. You're going to understand what the true power of influence is, you see. And don't let this meeting be about what you think it needs to be about. Don't feel like you have to come to some consensus. Let this be an energy-shifting experience where you elicit cooperation, the likes of which you have never seen before. And then you'll feel words flowing through you. Words like, that's brilliant, that's exactly right, that's just what we were looking for, thank you for that. And take note of what they say. Listen to them carefully. Pay attention to what they say. Let what they say matter to you. Discount nothing that they say, because every piece of it matters and is good. And then watch what begins to happen in the dynamics of this group. As the resistance that has formerly been there for obvious and logical reasons falls away. Because almost everybody, most all, are reacting. Most are reacting. This is why we want you to meditate and get into that good feeling place, so that your reaction is to your source. But if you are not tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you are in a meeting where you're hearing this and this and this and this and this, then there's this constant reaction. They say this, you say this, they say this, you say this. There's this reaction that takes place, but it's all down here. Look around. This is the perfect city in which to notice that. So much potential for so much wisdom and so much brilliance and so much solution, so much resource for all of that. And instead it's Doesn't take much. It only takes one. Yeah.
Thank you very much. very much.
Yes, indeed. Have fun.